Hansi Flick has been without a shadow of a doubt an important light during this last few years of darkness that we've been in. He has completely revolutionized and completely transformed this team. And he has been absolutely incredible. Domestically, we have absolutely dominated. It has been some of the most beautiful football. When it works, it's beautiful. We score a lot of goals. Everything looks great. And I'm one of the people who I've been very much the pro manager. Yes, I've had moments this season where I've criticized him, which at the end of the day, even managers that we back, we give credit to, but when it's time to criticize, we criticize. Managers that we don't even back, when they do a good job, we have to give them credit where credit is due. And I am in no way anti the manager. I am nowhere near Flick out. I think that Flick has been absolutely incredible. And considering what he's been having to work with, I completely understand his position and why most of the time he is forced to do the things that he does. But this is the important thing. And I think that, in this video, as Barca fans, we have to understand criticizing or calling out either the managers or the players doesn't mean you are anti the manager or anti the players, right? Sometimes criticism comes with credit. If you love or care about something enough, you're going to praise it when it does a good job, but you're also going to question it or criticize it, right? Because they're not doing their job, right? Or they're not doing well, right? It's the same thing with being a father, right? If your child is doing a good job, you give them credit, you praise them for doing an amazing job. But you're not going to ignore your child or make excuses for your child if they mess up. As a parent, you always have to show love. And it's not just being a parent, it's just about caring about someone. And someone like me, when I care, I give as much praises and as much criticism. And importantly for me, during this video, it is not even a video to criticize Flick. This is not a video to be Flick out and tell you guys why he needs to be sacked or any of that, right? This video, for me, is basically to point out some of the things in the 2 years that Flick has been here, which has definitely been something that not just me, but I think a lot of Barca fans find very infuriating, frustrating at times, and definitely things that, I would say Flick definitely needs to improve on maybe next season, right? And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into it. So make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, Hansi Flick, like I mentioned, he has been incredible, right? His tactics have revolutionized this team. We've scored a plethora amount of goals. Still, since last season, have been one of the highest goal scoring teams in the entirety of Europe, right? It has been amazing when it works, right? Our high line going forward, beautiful to watch. We score a lot of goals, especially last season. Last season, I remember, it was one of my most entertaining or loving seasons I've had at this club in years. I don't think I have felt, the kind of love or the kind of, appreciation, right? Or basically the kind of happiness I felt as I felt last season in years at this club. He was absolutely incredible. We were scoring crazy amounts of goals. Players like Rafinha, Lewandowski looked rejuvenated. Yamal was really carrying the team for most of the time. Pedri was looking great. The midfield was looking great even, right? Players like, I think, Frankie de Jong, right? Players like that have been performing. Guys like Casado, he gave them an opportunity. Marc Bernal, right? He gave players like him an opportunity. Even in the defense, I know this season it's been different, but I look at last season, how good Jules Koundé was, right? Many of us were very shocked at how good he was. I know this season he's definitely fallen off, but he was great last season. The basic partnership of Inigo and Kobashi last season, right? Which many of us did not see that midfield, that defense looking that good, right? And he completely changed our team, right, in the forward line. But one of the biggest weaknesses that I think Flick had is a few things, right? One of the biggest thing for me is his stubbornness. Flick is a very, very stubborn manager. Now, valid. I'm one of the people who, when I have had conversations with some Bayern Munich fans, right? The one thing they mentioned to me about Flick, which is a very, very much a net negative about him, is that he's an extremely stubborn manager. He's a manager that refuses to change his style, even when it is blatantly now working in a game, right? He's a manager who likes to live and die by his sword. Now, some people might find it commendable, that he's a manager that, believes in his tactics. But here's the problem, right? When it comes to managers being stubborn, sometimes it's important to fall on your sword. Because if you're a manager who is predictable, if you're a manager that plays one way, and you've shown that you don't have a lack of a plan B, that is very, very catastrophic. Very catastrophic. Because teams will figure out, managers, that's their job. Their job is to basically keep their eyes on a team, to keep their eyes on a manager's tactics, and look for holes. Because, trust me, every club or every manager, every tactic has a weakness. And it depends on how patient you are to look for it. And that, unfortunately, as a manager, I feel like every manager has to go through this. And that's what differentiates the top managers from the elite managers, right? Elite managers, for me, they understand that, yes, my tactics work, but they're not always going to work. Every tactic has a weakness. It's how you handle those weaknesses that are important. Having a plan B, having something different, right, to approach games with. And when I look at Hansi Flick, that's one thing I will say about him. He seems to have his philosophy. And his philosophy works. When it works, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Beautiful to watch. Attacking football prowess, beautiful. But when it doesn't work, when it is exposed, we are absolutely getting destroyed in certain games. It's something that definitely I have seen in this team, which worries me, right? I have seen it now for a while. Flick is a manager who he lives and dies by the sword. He doesn't change his tactics. I'll give you the biggest example being the Atletico Madrid game. And not even the one in the Champions League. I'm talking about the one in the Copa del Rey. That's the biggest one I can think of. We were 2-3-0 down. The high line was getting absolutely exposed. Any manager, top class manager, tactician, would have looked at it and said, okay, this is not working. The team is clearly clearly we're not doing a good job. Simeone is completely out tacticing me right now. I think it's important for us to fall on our sword, drop the line. But no, Flick didn't drop the line. Flick continued to play high offensive gung-ho football, and before you know it, at the end of the halftime, it was 4-0. And then you look at in other positions. Let me give you another exhibit. Last season, ladies and gentlemen, domestically, top, amazing. But the one competition where we got eliminated in the Champions League, we had an opportunity where, yes, we failed to win the first leg, but we had done such an amazing job in the second leg to the point that we had actually came back and we were 90 seconds away from a Champions League final. All we had to do was just sit back and hold on to the lead, which any club in the world would have done that. Any club, right? It's not always about trying to play your way for a whole 90 minutes. But Hansi Flick, unfortunately, this is the same problem that I talk about with his stubbornness. He's a guy who plays with his style. He plays his high attacking gung-ho football, even in moments when, really, just take your W and walk away. He didn't. And we ended up paying the ultimate price, and we ended up losing that game in extra time. This is my biggest issue that I think I see with Flick. Flick, whether we like it or not, and a lot of people are not going to like this, but Flick is a one-trick pony. But the thing is, that one trick that he has is incredible. When it works, it is absolutely scary. Scary. But when it doesn't work, that is where the big question is. And that has been Flick's biggest weakness. I think that when it comes to Flick, clearly he has only one way of playing, and when it doesn't work, he doesn't know what to do. Now, like I mentioned, that is not always a good thing. When you are proven to be a manager that only has one way of playing, trust me, teams figure you out. Teams figure you out. And if you don't have a plan B, you're going to end up getting exposed. Right? And that is, for me, I think the biggest issue with Flick is. Another thing that definitely worries me, and really, really, really something I call up at the manager for, is his lack of trust for certain players. He has this thing where the players that he trusts, I think he really, really, really overworks them. Sometimes I worry about some of our key players because the amount of times that Flick plays them in games where on paper he could really give them a rest and trust the rest of the team is worrying. Very worrying. I've seen the amount of work he's put on players like Yamal when they've come back from injury. You look at players like Rafinha this season, he's been suffering from injuries after injuries after injuries. 3 injuries this season. Every time he's returned, he's been back in the lineup playing over 90 minutes for many games. Pedri this season, he's had 2 big injuries. His form has dwindled in the last few weeks. A lot of that for me is about burnout. He has been overworked since last season. And that's the problem. We just saw in the derby. We had a big game in the Champions League this week. And in the last weekend, against Espanyol, he played Yamal and Pedri 90 minutes. When we had a big game in the Champions League. And this is something that Flick has always been, something that has been a big weakness of his, right? It's definitely not a good thing, right? And for me, these are things that, as fans, we can call out, right? Now, I am well aware and understand. Flick has been doing an amazing job, considering also he hasn't really been backed by this club, right? This is his second season. Flick has really not gotten the full backing that many of us Barca fans are looking at and saying, you know what, maybe this is what he needs. He needs these, right? Absolutely. And this is why, like I mentioned, I am not Flick out. I'm not against the manager. I don't want the manager to be sacked because I truly believe that he, first of all, needs to be given 100% backing in the summer to be given the players that he wants. And then we can finally start judging this manager on full length, right? But these things I've just mentioned, these things have nothing to do with being backed. These are just things tactically I think that Flick needs to change. I get it. Maybe he's not a manager who has a plan B. That's fine. But also, it's important to sometimes respect your opponent. You have to show respect to your opponent. If your opponent has shown to tactically outmatch you, right, then sometimes you have to fall on your sword and maybe say, hey, you know what? Maybe in this game, we need to see something different, right? We don't always have to be stubborn to think that at the end of the day, our way is always going to work with everyone, right? And also, again, Flick, start protecting some of our key players, right? There are some games that some of these players like the Pedris, the Yamals, and the Rafinhas are completely incredibly, irreplaceable. And in those games, we need them to be around. But there are some games that really, we don't need them to start. We don't need them to be, playing 90 minutes, right? Give these players a rest. Give opportunities to some of the younger players. Give more opportunities to players in the bench. Trust your bench. I know this team, these players that we have are not good enough. But what can we do, right? This is more about protecting the players that are valued rather than giving more opportunities to the duds. That's kind of how I look at it. But let me know what you guys think of everything I've mentioned on this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. And yeah, guys, what do you guys think of everything I mentioned about Flick, guys? Do you think that Flick is very, very stubborn? And how long do you guys think Flick will be at this club, guys? Let me know in the comment section below. Visca Barça. Peace.